It's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening. He believes he's innocent. He believes that he needs to stand up for his family and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government. And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. You know what? Maybe I can break the model. Maybe I can show the world that a black man can win. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
He could have walked away with 12 years, but Sean Diddy Combs just bet his entire future on one explosive gamble. This isn't just a trial, it's a reckoning. Federal prosecutors claim Diddy built a shadow empire behind Bad Boys' glittering parties, using private jets, encrypted apps, and millions in shell companies to hide crimes spanning decades. But when Homeland Security raided his mansions this March, they didn't just seize guns and hard drives. They flipped a key witness who could bury him for good. His own son. Let's hit rewind for a moment. Just last week, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs appeared before a judge in a packed Brooklyn courtroom and made a jaw-dropping move. He flat out refused a plea deal that, according to multiple legal insiders, would have limited his prison time to a maximum of 12 years. The terms of that deal, as leaked by those familiar with the negotiation, required Diddy to formally admit to charges related to trafficking and a serious sexual offense, language that his legal team immediately slammed as a complete distortion of the truth and a blatant attempt at what they called character assassination in the media and the courts. Now here's where it gets truly unbelievable. By turning down that deal, Diddy isn't just rolling the dice. He's putting everything on the line. If the jury convicts him, he's not looking at a decade and change. He's staring down a sentence that could stretch well beyond 20 years behind bars. So what's driving this high-stakes gamble? According to sources close to the defense, Diddy genuinely believes the entire federal case against him is a house of cards, propped up by what he calls bought testimony, fantasy timelines, and tabloid-level conspiracy theories. His attorneys are preparing to launch a full-throated argument that everything being portrayed as criminal was, in fact, consensual behavior among adults. No force, no coercion, no crimes committed. But federal prosecutors aren't backing down. In fact, they've got a hidden card they're about to play, and it could change the game entirely. Buried deep in their evidence vault are 14 electronic devices seized during the raid on Diddy's properties. These devices, sources say, are filled with damning communications, some of which include deeply personal and reportedly incriminating father-son conversations. And here's the twist that no one saw coming. Christian Combs, Diddy's own son, has reportedly agreed to cooperate. That means prosecutors may now have not only data and metadata, but also a family witness prepared to testify from the inside. True, it's not just explosive, it could be the prosecution's knockout punch. The revelation didn't come with fireworks or a dramatic press conference. It slipped out quietly in a confidential court filing that only a handful of people initially saw. But the impact? Absolutely seismic. According to the sealed memo, Christian Combs, Diddy's eldest son and longtime business confidant, has already met with federal prosecutors on at least 2 separate occasions since April. And those meetings weren't casual sit-downs or character assessments. According to insiders familiar with the sessions, Christian wasn't just providing background. He was giving up information only someone on the inside could possibly know. In other words, he knows everything. Between 2015 and 2022, Christian wasn't just tagging along to parties or enjoying the perks of his father's fame. Prosecutors allege that during this 7-year span, he actively participated in managing critical logistics for some of the most exclusive, and now highly scrutinized, events tied to the Combs empire. Records show he signed off on high-end invoices for luxury yacht rentals, greenlit bookings for Gulfstream private jets, and maintained encrypted guest lists for the infamous all-white parties that were attended by celebrities, moguls, and hand-picked unknowns. But it goes deeper than that. According to digital communications obtained during the investigation, Christian also coordinated the arrival schedules for VIP guests, managed rotating shifts for private security teams, and even facilitated the division of cash payouts after the parties ended. Actions prosecutors argue clearly illustrate that these weren't merely glamorous get-togethers. In their words, these parties were structured operations designed with intent, specifically as recruitment mechanisms for something far more sinister. So why would Christian, someone raised in the shadow of Diddy's empire and who directly benefited from its success, suddenly decide to cooperate with the very people trying to dismantle it? Sources close to the investigation say the March 2025 raid shook him to his core. When federal agents swarmed his father's Los Angeles mansion, a place Christian had long considered a creative sanctuary, where he'd spent hours recording music and building his own brand, he realized how serious things had become. It wasn't a drill. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was real, and it was closing in fast. Those same sources claim Christian began to reassess his position and ultimately made the decision to assist prosecutors in exchange for protection from potential legal consequences of his own. Now, with his cooperation, authorities believe they can not only validate previously discovered financial records but also establish motive, timeline, and intent. In short, Christian's testimony could tie the entire case together, and prosecutors are betting it will. Let's rewind to the moment everything began unraveling in real time. The federal raids. When agents from the Department of Homeland Security stormed Diddy's properties on both coasts, the headlines focused on the optics: SWAT teams, armored vehicles, and dramatic helicopter flyovers. But what most people missed was what those agents were really after. They weren't just there searching for weapons or illegal substances. Their true target was far more complex and far more telling. They came hunting for evidence of a deeply buried financial labyrinth, a network of at least 17 shell companies allegedly used to launder and reroute over $74 million. These companies were carefully incorporated across financial havens like Delaware, Nevada, and a series of offshore accounts, making the money nearly impossible to trace, unless, of course, you had the right tools and insider testimony. Enter the forensic accountants. Brought in by federal prosecutors, these financial experts began piecing together a pattern that didn't just look suspicious, it looked strategic. Their findings uncovered dozens of nearly identical $50,000 cash withdrawals. Each one occurred mere hours before major parties and private gatherings hosted at Diddy's various estates or on chartered superyachts. Prosecutors now allege that this cash was earmarked specifically for what they labeled high-risk operational expenses. That means ultra-luxury rentals, ironclad non-disclosure agreements, and covert transportation arrangements for select guests. These weren't random ATM pulls, this was systematic. And then came what prosecutors are calling their financial smoking gun: 2 damning invoices. Both were for yacht charters and high-end catering services tied to party weekends currently under investigation. But what makes them explosive isn't just the amounts, they were personally signed off by Christian Combs. That detail, prosecutors say, directly links him to the coordination and funding of the operations under scrutiny. These aren't just his dad's parties anymore. These are now potentially criminal enterprises with paper trails and signatures connecting family members to the core of the alleged misconduct. Naturally, Diddy's legal team is pushing back hard. Their official position? Business as usual. According to them, the movement of funds was routine for someone operating multiple entertainment ventures and hosting A-list events. But not everyone is convinced, especially those who've spent their careers tracking illicit finance. One voice cutting through the noise is former DEA agent Yusef Roberts, who reviewed the publicly released financial summaries. His take? When the money's this layered, this protected, it's never just parties. This looks like operational shielding, plain and simple. And if he's right, then the money trail doesn't just lead to indulgence. It leads to intent. Speaking of parties, remember those legendary Hamptons bashes? Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Usher weren't just guests, they're now potential witnesses. Prosecutors allege Diddy used his tequila brand, Ciroc, to bankroll flights shuffling high-profile guests to private islands. A $900,000 transfer from De Leon Tequila to a shadowy media company? That same day, a private jet flew 8 unnamed passengers to the Bahamas. But here's the twist: encrypted chats reveal pre-arranged pairings of guests, with security teams confiscating phones. Former staffers say flight logs were wiped to hide names, a move Diddy's team calls VIP privacy. Prosecutors call it a cover-up. Q 50 Cent, the rap provocateur, claims he's got court docs naming celebs who profited from Diddy's ventures. While he's trolling online, prosecutors are dead serious, subpoenaing endorsement deals and appearance fees tied to Bad Boy. Mary J. Blige and Usher haven't commented, but sources say their teams are panicking. Christian testifies he could drag every A-lister who attended those parties into the spotlight. Even Diddy's philanthropy is under fire. Ledgers show $450,000 donated to Howard University, followed by a matching withdrawal from his personal account. IRS investigator John Mendes calls it circular financing, using charities to recycle dirty money. Diddy's lawyers insist it's coincidence. But with $20 million in forfeiture on the line, even Howard's now monitoring the situation. Jury selection starts Monday, and tensions are sky-high. The defense fears bias. After all, 50 Cent's leaks and Epstein comparisons have already poisoned the well. One juror question says it all. Do you believe celebrities get special treatment in court? Diddy's team needs 12 people who'll ignore the noise, but with Christian possibly testifying day one? Good luck. What's next? Convicted, Diddy's empire, music, fashion, liquor, crashes overnight. But this trial's bigger than one man. It's about power, legacy, and whether loyalty can outlast the law. Christian's testimony could rewrite the story or prove blood's not thicker than evidence. Either way, the curtain's rising on the trial of the decade. Like this video? Smash that subscribe button, the verdict's just the beginning. And turn on notifications because when Christian takes the stand, you won't want to miss it.